At his mother's cafe opening, I stood beside the espresso machines I had secured, I said, mostly to myself, because Daniel had just thanked everyone else. He raised his champagne flute beneath the green awning. And Mara, he added, finally looking at me, who brought nothing but her appetite. Laughter moved through the crowd. Celeste touched my elbow with 2 fingers. Step away from the ribbon, sweetheart. This photograph is for the people who built the place. I was still moving when Owen Mercer, our equipment supplier, came through the door holding a clipboard. Mara, he said, why am I getting instructions to release 2 grinders without your authorization? Celeste's smile hardened. Because they're mine. Owen glanced at Daniel, then at me. The lease listed Mara. Daniel lowered his glass. What I couldn't understand, what I would spend the next several hours trying not to understand, was why he didn't look surprised. The photographer's assistant asked us all to squeeze together. Somebody bumped the ribbon and it sagged between the brass stanchions. Celeste's friends laughed as if that were charming too. Owen, Daniel said, stepping down from the little platform, this isn't the time. It became the time when your mother called my warehouse. I called about my equipment, Celeste said. It isn't your equipment. She drew herself up. Celeste could make 5 feet 4 inches feel architectural. She wore a cream suit she'd bought specifically for the opening and a green silk scarf tied at her throat. Her lipstick matched the tiny poppies painted around the front window. I think there's been some confusion, she said. Owen tapped the clipboard. There has. I looked at Daniel. He had that soft, patient expression he used when 2 people were being unreasonable in his vicinity. It had once impressed me. Daniel never raised his voice at waiters, never honked in traffic, never sent an email while angry. I had mistaken his dislike of conflict for kindness. The grinders aren't being released, I said. Celeste turned to me. Excuse me. Owen, don't move, photograph, service, transfer, or let anybody pick up anything on that lease unless you hear directly from me. Already noted. Daniel put his hand at the small of my back. Can we talk in the office? His palm was warm through my dress. I stepped away from it. Behind us, Celeste's cousin Elaine clapped twice and said, "Should we do the picture before the ice melts?" She meant the champagne bucket, though everyone stared at her as if she had proposed photographing a funeral. Celeste recovered first. Of course. This is a happy day. She returned to the ribbon. Daniel stayed with me, caught between following his mother and appearing to choose her. The photographer lifted his camera. "Daniel," Celeste called. He went. That was the picture they took. Celeste holding the oversized scissors, Daniel beside her, the green ribbon stretched across the cafe entrance. I stood near the pastry case with Owen and watched the flash strike the polished sides of the espresso machines. 6 months earlier, those machines had been sitting in an equipment showroom in Newark, each one costing more than my first car. Celeste had run her hand over the chrome and said Frank would have known which one. Her late husband had known boilers, coffee temperatures, and every person who walked into the old Vale Café between 1996 and the year a rent increase forced them out. He had died 3 years later. Celeste spoke about those 2 losses as if the second had caused the first. Daniel had squeezed my hand that day in the showroom. "We can do this," he'd whispered. Celeste had wandered toward a copper-colored model that looked beautiful and recovered from heavy use like a sedated horse. "No," I had said. "That one can't keep up with a morning line." Daniel smiled. "See? This is why we brought you. Brought me. Like a flashlight. Like jumper cables." At the opening, the ribbon fell in 2 green curls. People cheered. Celeste hugged Daniel, then Elaine, then the contractor, Mr. Baines, whose chief contribution had been arriving 40 minutes late every morning and calling me Melissa. Owen leaned closer. "Did you approve a resale?" "No." "They asked us to provide packing materials." "Who asked?" His eyes shifted toward Daniel. The room seemed to tilt without anything moving. "Did he use his name?" "He said he was speaking for you." Across the cafe, Daniel accepted congratulations under pendant lights. I had spent 2 weeks getting replaced because the originals flickered whenever both ovens ran. Celeste stood in front of the menu board while guests praised the hand-painted lettering. I had corrected 4 prices on that board at 2 in the morning, using a step stool and a cotton swab dipped in black paint. I took the brass key from my ring. Daniel had given it to me the night we signed the storefront lease. He'd threaded it onto my key ring himself while we sat on the bare floor eating pizza from the box. "Officially a family business," he'd said. "The business belongs to your mother." You know what I mean. I had thought I did. Now I set the key on a passing server's tray between 2 untouched champagne flutes. "Please give that to Daniel." The server, whose name was Tessa, looked from the key to my face. "Are you leaving?" "I have a headache." That was such an ordinary lie that it allowed both of us to pretend the day was ordinary too. Owen followed me outside. Heat had collected between the brick buildings, thick with the smell of pavement and the rosemary Celeste had planted in window boxes that morning. A line of green and white balloons knocked against the awning. "Mara." "I know." "You don't know what I was going to say. You were going to tell me not to make decisions while I'm angry. I was going to say I can flag the entire account." I stopped beside my car. Owen was in his 50s, compact and permanently rumpled, as if he stored himself in a glove compartment overnight. I knew him through my job at Fenwick Hospitality, where I managed restaurant openings for people with enough money to make bad ideas expensive. Owen had given Celeste better terms because I'd called him. "Flag it," I said. "You're personally liable for the equipment." I know that too. People say that right before they behave as if they don't. Despite myself, I laughed once. "There she is," he said. "I thought the champagne killed you." I opened my car door but didn't get in. "Did Daniel tell you where the grinders were going?" "Buyer and Edison, small grocery adding a coffee counter." "And the money?" He didn't volunteer. "Of course not. Do you want me to send you the call log?" "Yes." Owen nodded. "Monday. Today. It's Saturday. I know what day it is." He studied me, then took out his phone. "Today." I sat in my car with the air conditioning running and watched guests enter beneath the balloons. A woman stopped to photograph the chalkboard sign I had lettered, "Rosemary Honey Latte, opening weekend only." Celeste had hated the drink when I developed it. "Too modern," she said. Then a local magazine mentioned it in a preview and it became her late husband's favorite recipe. Daniel came outside carrying the brass key. He spotted my car, lifted both hands, and walked over. I lowered the window 3 inches. "Seriously?" "I have a headache." "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Use that voice where we both know you're furious, but I'm supposed to drag it out of you." Behind him, applause broke out again. Someone inside had started another toast. "Did you tell Owen to release the grinders?" Daniel looked back at the cafe. The pause was small. He probably believed it was too small to matter. I asked him what the process was. He said you were speaking for me, because you and I are getting married. That's not a process. Mara, Celeste found out yesterday that the city wants another $8,000 worth of work before they'll approve the beer and wine permit. Bain swore the rear access met code. It doesn't. We need a wider landing and another handrail. So you decided to sell leased equipment. Equipment we don't need yet. You said yourself the grinders were for Phase 2. I said one was for Phase 2, the other is for decaf. He stared at me. You don't know which machines you tried to sell, I said. That's not the point. No, it really is. His fingers curled around the brass key. A pale groove circled his ring finger where his engagement band usually sat. He had taken it off for the photographs because Celeste thought a man wearing an engagement ring looked European. I'd laughed when she said it. Daniel had laughed too, then slipped the band into his pocket. Mara, we weren't trying to go behind your back. Then why didn't you ask me? Because every question becomes a committee meeting. Sometimes a family has to move quickly. A family. I looked past him through the front window. Celeste was behind the counter now, showing Elaine how the antique brass register opened. It didn't handle transactions. The actual register was a tablet mounted beside it, but Celeste had insisted on keeping the old one because Frank's hands had worn the number keys smooth. She caught me looking and turned away. "Go back inside," I said. "I'm not leaving you out here like this. You already left me out here." His face changed, not with shame, with irritation that I had made the symmetry too obvious to deny. "The joke was stupid," he said. "I'm sorry." "Which joke?" "You brought nothing but your appetite." "And the picture?" "That was Mom. You stood beside her. What did you want me to do, start a fight during the ribbon cutting?" "No, I wanted you to have made a different choice before it became a fight." He crouched beside the car so his face was level with mine. From a distance, it might have looked tender. "She's terrified," he said. "This cafe is the only thing she's wanted since Dad died. Every time you correct her, she hears that she can't do it without you. She can't do it without me. You see? That's what she feels. It's also what the bank, the utility company, and the equipment contract feel." He closed his eyes for half a second. "Can we please discuss this tonight?" "Not at my apartment. Our apartment. My name is on that lease, too." He flinched, and I hated that he knew I would notice. "I'll come by after closing," he said. "We'll talk when you're not this upset." I raised the window. He pressed the brass key against the glass, and for one ridiculous second I remembered him dropping it into my palm on the bare cafe floor. The pizza had been cold. There was paint in his hair. He had looked exhausted and happier than I had ever seen him. I drove away before that memory could volunteer me for anything else. At home, the apartment was exactly as we had left it that morning. Daniel's coffee cup sat in the sink with a brown ring drying inside it. His dress shoes were missing from the mat, leaving 2 clean shapes in the dust. On the refrigerator, our wedding invitation sample was held up by a magnet from a seafood restaurant we both hated. Mara Ellison and Daniel Valetti letters were pressed into thick white paper. Celeste had complained that my name appeared first. I changed out of my dress, opened my laptop, and made 3 columns on a spreadsheet. Cafe expenses paid by me, cafe expenses paid jointly, cafe expenses reimbursed. The 3rd column stayed empty for a long time. I found charges I remembered approving and charges Daniel had described differently. $640 for custom menu boards had become signage deposit. $1,200 for Celeste's opening outfit, and a photographer had become launch promotion. The rosemary plants, balloons, and silk ribbon had all come from the wedding account. At 3:18, Owen emailed the call log. Daniel had contacted him 3 times over 9 days. The first call happened the same evening. Daniel gave me a shoulder massage at the kitchen table and said I worked too hard. The second came during our appointment with the florist. The third was yesterday, while Celeste and I stood side by side in the cafe kitchen labeling shelves with green tape. I called the bank. The woman who answered had a bright, careful voice. She helped me remove my personal card from the cafe utility autopay. Then she walked me through changing the alerts on the joint wedding account so I would be notified of every withdrawal over $100. "Anything else I can help you with today?" she asked. I looked at the invitation on the refrigerator. "No," I said. "That's enough for today." At 6, Celeste texted me a photograph from the opening. She and Daniel stood behind the ribbon, smiling under the green awning. The empty space at Daniel's left looked intentional. "You embarrassed him," she wrote. "We can discuss your role after you apologize." I typed 3 answers and deleted all of them. Then I opened the cafe's shared scheduling app. 2 employees had requested shift changes for the next morning. A delivery driver had left a message asking which entrance to use. Celeste had entered the same server for overlapping shifts, and nobody was scheduled to unlock the rear door for the baker at 5. My fingers moved from habit. I almost fixed it. Instead, I signed out. At 7:12, the first bank alert appeared on my phone. Transfer. $8,000.00 from our wedding account to Vale Cafe operating. I was still staring at it when Daniel's key turned in the apartment door. Daniel came in carrying 2 white bakery boxes and the smell of roasted coffee. He set the boxes on the counter as if he had returned from an ordinary errand. Celeste sent lemon bars. You transferred $8,000. His hand stopped on the lid of the top box. I held up my phone. 7:12. Mara, I was going to tell you. You told me you were coming home to talk. That's what I'm doing. You move the money first. He took off his jacket and draped it over a chair. He was still wearing the pale blue shirt from the opening, though he had rolled the sleeves to his elbows. His engagement band was back on his finger. The contractor needs a deposit Monday, he said. If we delay, we lose our place on his schedule. Put it back. Listen to me for 5 minutes. I listened to you outside the cafe. You told me we had to move quickly because we're family. Apparently that means you move the money and I find out from an alert. He pulled out a chair but did not sit. It's a joint account. That means both of us put money into it. It doesn't mean either of us gets to empty it into his mother's business. It's not empty. No. You left us $2,300. The venue deposit is due in 2 weeks. We'll replenish it. With what? The cafe is open now. Today it gave away champagne and half its food. That was marketing. I laughed and his mouth tightened. There it is, he said. What? That tone. Like everybody involved in this is an idiot except you. Did you authorize the grinder sale before or after you decided to take our wedding money? I didn't authorize a sale. I asked questions. 3 times. His gaze went to the laptop. Owen's email was open behind my spreadsheet. You called him 3 times over 9 days. Daniel pulled out the chair and sat. Celeste had a buyer interested. We were exploring options. You told Owen you spoke for me. I thought I did. The room went quiet except for the refrigerator clicking on. Daniel looked at the invitation pinned to its door. I watched him notice that I was watching. I have spent 6 months listening to you say, we're building something together, I said. But whenever there's something good, it belongs to your mother. Whenever there's a bill, it belongs to us. Whenever I ask a question, I'm an outsider, keeping score. He rubbed both hands over his face. Can we lower the temperature? I'm not yelling. You don't have to yell. I stood and closed the laptop. Put the money back by 10 tomorrow morning. The contractor needs it. Then Celeste can pay him. You know she can't. Then she can't get the handrail. She needs it for the permit. The cafe has a coffee license. It can operate without beer and wine. That's not the business plan. The business plan also said she'd reimburse the equipment payment every month. She hasn't paid one. Because every dollar went into opening. Every one of my dollars. Daniel stood so quickly the chair legs scraped the floor. Do you hear yourself? Constantly. No one else seems to. My mother sold her jewelry to pay the security deposit. She sold 1 bracelet for $4,800. I negotiated $18,000 off the equipment deposit and personally guaranteed the rest. Exactly. You made a phone call. She gave up something that belonged to her. The sentence landed with such precision that I knew it wasn't new. He had been carrying it around, polished and ready. A phone call, I said. You know what I mean. No, I want you to tell me. Did you think those machines appeared because Owen likes my voice? I think you're good at your job. I also think you've made helping us into a way of controlling everything. Us. You know what I mean? There it was again, the useful blur between Daniel and Celeste. It let him belong to whichever side was being asked to pay. I walked to the counter and pushed the bakery boxes toward him. Stay at your mother's tonight. Mara, I need you to leave. This is my home, too. Yes, and I need 1 night without you explaining why that means you can take whatever is inside it. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he picked up his jacket. At the door, he placed the brass cafe key on the narrow table where we kept our mail. I didn't know what else to do with this. I looked at the key instead of him. Neither did I. After he left, I opened one of the bakery boxes. The lemon bars were arranged in 4 perfect rows under a dusting of sugar. Celeste had made them from Frank's recipe, the one she claimed he never wrote down. A green strip of tape marked the side of the box. "Mara, no powdered sugar," someone had written. The note was in my handwriting. 3 weeks earlier, when we planned the opening trays, I had reminded Celeste that powdered sugar went wet and patchy under the display lights. She had ignored the label and sent the box home to me anyway. I ate one over the sink. It was very good. At 5 the next morning, my phone started vibrating on the nightstand. The first call came from a number I didn't recognize. The second came from Tessa. The third was Daniel. I silenced it and rolled onto my back. At 5:19, a message appeared. "The baker is locked out. Where's the rear key?" I knew where it was. The rear door key hung on a green plastic coil inside the office, on the left side of the filing cabinet. I had shown Celeste twice and Daniel once. I put the phone face down. At 5:37, another message appeared. "Call me. Alarm is going off." The code was Frank's birthday. Celeste had insisted on it because she could remember the numbers. I had suggested writing the code inside the office supply cabinet in case someone else needed it. Celeste said only family should have access. At 6:10, Daniel called again. I answered. "Thank God. What's the alarm code?" "Your father's birthday." I tried that. Month, day, 4-digit year. What order? The order I just said. Behind him, an alarm shrieked. Someone yelled that the milk delivery was blocking the alley. "Where's the rear key?" "Office filing cabinet." "It's locked." "The office or the cabinet?" "The office. Celeste has the office key." "No, she doesn't. She says you had it." "I left my storefront key on a tray. She took my office key last month because she didn't want staff going through the vendor contracts." Daniel covered the phone, spoke to someone, then came back. "Can you just come down here?" "No." "Mara, we have an entire opening weekend brunch reservation in 2 hours. You don't serve brunch." Mom added it. "Then Mom has a plan." He exhaled hard enough to distort the call. "This is petty. I'm not withholding anything. I don't have the key, and you know the alarm code. You know how the place runs." "Yes. So you're going to let it fail to make a point?" I sat up. "If it fails because I don't answer my phone before sunrise, then you should reconsider announcing that I brought nothing." He hung up. At 9, I received a photo from Tessa. A cardboard sign had been taped to the cafe door. "Opening at 10, due to technical difficulties." At 9:15, the cafe's shared scheduling app notified me that my administrator access had been removed. Celeste had found someone who knew how to change a password. The money was not back in the wedding account by 10. At 11:40, Celeste called. I let it go to voicemail. "Mara, this is Celeste. I am trying to understand why you chose the most important weekend of my life to punish me for a joke. Daniel has been here since 4:30 trying to repair the damage. Luis walked out because the schedule apparently had him working 2 stations, which I am told was your responsibility. We have refunded 19 reservations. Call me before you do anything else vindictive." I listened twice, fascinated by the structure. Every event had happened to her. Every decision belonged to someone else. At noon, Daniel texted a photograph of the construction estimate. Beneath it, he wrote, "This is real." I didn't invent the cost. I replied, "I didn't say you did." He called immediately. I did not answer. On Monday morning, I arrived at Fenwick Hospitality 15 minutes early and found Owen sitting in our reception area with 2 coffees. He handed me one. "Peace offering," he said. "For what?" "It tastes terrible." It did. Fenwick occupied the 6th floor of a converted warehouse with exposed brick, glass offices, and a test kitchen that always smelled faintly of onions. I had opened 14 restaurants there in 5 years. Half my job was preventing rich people from buying equipment that looked impressive and failed during service. Owen followed me into a small conference room and set a folder on the table. "I pulled everything on Vail," he said. "Original lease, delivery confirmation, serial numbers, service log." Any surprises? Depends how you feel about people removing stickers. I looked up. One of my drivers stopped by yesterday. Your mother-in-law asked him how hard it would be to replace a damaged cereal plate. She isn't my mother-in-law. Right. What did he tell her? That we don't replace cereal plates for aesthetics. Did he see damage? No, but he saw packing blankets behind the grinders. I opened the folder. The delivery sheet bore my signature at the bottom. Above it was a list of every machine, model, and serial number. I remembered standing in the cafe while the installers rolled them in. I had marked each station with green tape so the electrical contractor would know where everything belonged. What happens if they alter the equipment? I can call a default inspection. And then? If I can verify it's intact, we issue a warning. If something's missing or materially altered, we can demand cure or accelerate the lease. How badly does that hit me? Owen folded his hands. You're the lessee. The word felt heavier in his mouth than it had beneath the awning. I need a day, I said. Take the day. Don't take the month. At 10, my boss leaned into the conference room. Priya Shah wore a red blazer and the expression of someone who had already fixed 3 problems before breakfast. Vale Café is yours, right? My equipment lease, not my cafe. A landlord named Grant Leland called reception looking for you. He says there's a dispute about fixtures. Owen and I exchanged a look. I'll call him. Priya didn't leave. Personal project? Yes. Personal projects are just work without boundaries. Keep it out of Fenwick. I will. She glanced at Owen's folder. And if your name is on commercial debt, tell me before it becomes vendor gossip. After she left, Owen slid the folder closer to me. That day you needed just got shorter. Grant Leland answered on the first ring. He owned the cafe building and 3 renovated apartments across town, including the one Daniel and I had applied to rent after the wedding. Mara, he said warmly, I'm glad we caught each other. Daniel tells me there's a little family disagreement. What kind of disagreement? Ownership, primarily. I don't own the cafe. Celeste says you're threatening to remove essential fixtures. The leased equipment belongs to Mercer Food Systems. I'm the lessee. Yes, I understand paperwork. I'm more concerned about stability. Whose? He chuckled as if I'd made a clever joke. Everybody's. I have tenants operating a new business, equipment financing tied to a third party, and now emotional friction between that third party and the family. Daniel called me emotional? He said you were understandably upset after an opening day misunderstanding. I stared through the glass wall of the conference room. In the test kitchen, Priya was showing a chef how to adjust a burner. She turned the dial once. The flame steadied. Grant, no one has permission to sell, move, or alter that equipment. If Celeste follows the lease terms, it stays. Good. Excellent. I knew we were all reasonable. There's something else, isn't there? A pause. Given the uncertainty, he said, I'm going to hold off approving your residential application, just until this settles. That application is separate. You and Daniel listed the cafe as a projected secondary income source. Daniel did, with your signature. I remembered the application on our dining table, yellow flags marking every place I needed to sign. Daniel had filled in the financial section because I was on a vendor call. I had signed beside the flags. How long are you holding it? Let's see where we are in 30 days. Our wedding was in 68. When the call ended, I found a text from Celeste waiting on my phone. We need a formal meeting. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. The cafe will be closed between lunch and dinner. Bring the lease. Below that, she had added, and bring the keys. All of them. I looked through the conference room glass at my bag. The brass key lay in its front pocket where I had put it that morning without thinking. I picked it up and pressed its teeth into my palm. Then I replied, I'll bring the lease. You already have my key. Celeste had placed 3 lemon bars on a china plate in the center of the cafe's smallest table. The powdered sugar had melted into pale blisters. Daniel sat beside her with his hands folded. He wore the gray sweater I had given him for his birthday, which felt either strategic or cruel. The cafe was empty except for Luis behind the counter, making enough noise with the milk pitchers to prove he wasn't listening. Celeste looked at my document envelope. "You brought it?" I brought a copy. Her eyes moved to my hands. "And the keys?" "I told you, Daniel has the brass key. You took the office key." "I changed the locks this morning." Daniel looked down. Celeste continued. "Given recent events, I can't have someone entering the cafe who might interfere with operations." "Someone who personally guarantees the equipment?" "Someone who walked away during opening weekend. I sat across from them." "What's the meeting about?" Daniel leaned forward. "We all want to move past this. I want the $8,000 returned." "We've discussed that," Celeste said. "The money has been committed. You spent it already?" "The contractor began work on the rear landing this morning. I had passed the alley on my way in. There had been no truck, no lumber, no contractor." "Baines isn't here." "He ordered materials." "Then show me the invoice." Celeste's mouth thinned. Daniel intervened. "We're not doing receipts line by line. No, you're doing something else line by line." I pulled out the equipment lease. Section 4, no sale, transfer, relocation, or material modification. Section 7, I have the right to inspect the equipment with reasonable notice. Section 9, any missed payment is my liability. Celeste reached for the lease. I kept my hand on it. "What do you want?" she asked. "The same thing I wanted before you opened. A written reimbursement schedule. No alterations to the equipment. No financial decisions made in my name. The $8,000 returned to the wedding account." She leaned back. "So, control." "Terms. Your terms. The lender's terms." Daniel touched the side of his neck, his old tell when he wanted a conversation to end. "Mom has a proposal." Celeste produced a single sheet of paper from her leather portfolio and slid it across the table. The first paragraph said Mara Ellison would continue making all equipment payments for 6 months. After that, Vale Café would make best efforts to assume the lease. In exchange, I would be recognized as an opening consultant and receive permanent acknowledgement within the premises. "What does permanent acknowledgement mean?" I asked. Celeste brightened. "A framed statement, professionally designed. It would thank you for your assistance." "Where?" "We haven't chosen the exact location." "Where?" She glanced toward the hallway leading to the restrooms. Luis dropped a pitcher behind the counter. It struck the rubber mat with a flat clang. I looked at Daniel. "Did you help write this?" "It's a starting point. It says I pay for 6 months and then you'll try. By then we'll have revenue history," he said. "We can refinance. And if you can't, we revisit. Meaning I keep paying." Celeste folded her hands. "You wanted acknowledgement. I am offering it. You're offering to put my name near the bathroom if I give you another $30,000. When you say it that way, naturally it sounds insulting. Help me say it the other way." Daniel pushed his chair back. "Nobody is asking you to give us $30,000. The payment is $4,800 a month. It's an investment in our future." "Whose future?" His expression closed. Celeste took the proposal back and aligned it with the edge of her portfolio. "I knew this would be difficult. Daniel insisted you could be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. You just benefit when I'm not." Luis came around the counter carrying a rag. "Sorry, can I get under there?" Celeste looked at the spotless floor beneath our table. "Later." "It's sticky. It can wait, Luis." He met my eyes for half a second. There was no solidarity in his face, only resentment. I returned the lease to my envelope. "The next payment is due Friday," I said. "Your reimbursement needs to reach me by Monday afternoon to clear in time." "We don't have it," Daniel said. "Then show me the books." Celeste laughed. "Absolutely not. If you want me to carry the debt, I see the books." "This is my business." "Then pay for it." She stood. "I think we are finished." Daniel followed me outside. The lock on the front door was bright silver, newer than the brass plate around it. "Mara!" Wait. I kept walking. He caught up at the corner. You went in there determined to say no. I went in determined not to agree to something ridiculous. My mother is trying. Your mother offered me a plaque near a toilet. She's proud. She announced I contributed nothing. She feels displaced. She changed the locks. Because you told Owen to freeze the equipment. The equipment she tried to sell. He took my arm. Not hard, but I looked down at his hand until he released me. We have a wedding in 2 months, he said. We have deposits. Guests have booked flights. You told Grant I was emotional. I told him we had a disagreement. You told him I was trying to destroy your mother's livelihood. I told him you were threatening to pull the machines. I wasn't. Then say you won't. The request sat between us. If the lease is paid and the equipment is safe, it stays. That's not what I asked. No. You want me to promise the machines stay no matter what you do. I want to know my fiancé isn't holding my mother's business hostage. And I want to know my fiancé doesn't consider my signature a hostage he can negotiate around. A bus sighed to a stop beside us. When it pulled away, Daniel's hair was blown across his forehead. I almost reached up to smooth it. He said, I miss you. The simplicity of it hurt more than his arguments. You slept at home one night without me. I've missed you longer than that. For a moment, I saw the man who brought me coffee during 14-hour openings, who learned to fold fitted sheets because I hated doing it, who once drove 40 minutes to return a library book I'd forgotten in his car. None of those things were false. That was the trouble. Daniel was not pretending to be good. He simply believed his goodness in one room should cover what he allowed in another. Return the money, I said. He nodded slowly, as if I had failed a test. I'm going back to the café. At work, Priya was waiting in my office. She closed the door behind me. Mercer's finance department called ours. Owen shouldn't have done that. He didn't. Their credit analyst noticed your employer on the application. I've never missed a payment. Keep it that way. I will. Priya sat in the chair across from my desk. I'm going to ask a rude question. Why did you sign personally? Because the café had no credit history, Celeste's score was bad, and Daniel was already carrying debt from his father's medical expenses. And you thought marriage would turn 3 balance sheets into 1. I looked at her. I've owned restaurants with people I liked, she said. It's expensive. Owning one with people you love is obscene. I don't own it. That appears to be the central problem. Friday's payment came out of my savings. I watched the number leave while sitting in Fenwick's test kitchen, waiting for a freezer technician. $4,800. I had saved most of it before Daniel and I met, one automatic transfer at a time. The money had been meant to become part of a down payment after the wedding. At 8:03 that night, Daniel sent me a single sentence. Thank you for not hurting her. I stared at it until the freezer technician asked if I was all right. Perfect, I said. Show me the compressor. The café's first full week produced small disasters with excellent timing. Celeste ran out of whole milk during the Tuesday rush, then over-ordered and lost 8 gallons when a refrigerator door was left open. 2 servers complained that their tip totals were wrong. The rosemary honey latte disappeared from the menu because no one had ordered rosemary syrup. Daniel posted cheerful photographs online. In every one, the tables were framed tightly enough that the empty chairs disappeared. I knew all of this because Tessa kept texting me. I'm not asking you to fix it, she wrote on Wednesday, just confirming. Did you schedule me to close Thursday and open Friday? No, I replied. She sent a screenshot. My name appeared beside the schedule change. I had been removed from the app 2 days before it was made. Save that, I wrote. On Thursday, Luis called me from the alley behind Fenwick. You screwed us, he said without greeting. I didn't make the schedule. You built the whole system and disappeared. I was told I brought nothing. It should be easy to replace nothing. That's cute. Tessa quit. My hand tightened around the phone. Why? Tips, hours. Your boyfriend says the software is calculating overtime wrong. It doesn't calculate payroll. Daniel exports the hours. Silence. What? I asked. Nothing. Luis, I have to go. He hung up. An hour later, 6 screenshots arrived from him. The first showed employee clock-in records. The second showed the hours Daniel had submitted to payroll. Small differences appeared everywhere. 20 minutes removed here, a break added there, an entire closing hour missing from Luis's Friday shift. The last screenshot showed my administrator profile still active under a new email address. The name displayed was Mara Ellison. I called Daniel. He answered on the 4th ring. I'm in the middle of something. Why is my name still on the scheduling system? What? Someone created an account using my name after Celeste removed me. I have no idea. Luis sent screenshots. His voice changed. Why is Luis sending you internal records? Because his paycheck is short. I'm correcting it. Did you alter the hours? I cleaned up bad punches. People forget to clock out. Did you create the account in my name? We needed continuity. Vendors and staff recognize you. The casualness took my breath away. You fired me in public and kept me in the software. No one fired you. You left. Delete the account. We're in the middle of payroll. Delete it now. Mara, I'm trying to keep 30 things from falling apart. And you're putting my name on the floor underneath them. I said I'll handle it. You also said you were exploring options when you tried to sell my grinders. Stop calling them your grinders. They're more mine than the Café is yours. He went quiet. Then he said, Mom has been invited to host a preview dinner for Palette Local next Saturday. I knew the site. Its regional reviews could fill a new restaurant for weeks. She doesn't serve dinner. We're developing a limited menu. Who is developing it? Another pause. Daniel. We're using some of the pairing notes you left. I closed my eyes. The notes had been in a green binder inside the locked office. Take my name off the system. Don't use my work. Don't call me again unless you're telling me the money has been returned. I ended the call. Luis's next message arrived near midnight. I found the missing hours. He put them under training, so labor looks lower. Then, there's something weird with the grinders. The photograph beneath it showed the back of the cafe's service counter. 2 packing blankets were folded on the floor. Above them, 1 grinder stood beneath a bright rectangle of clean metal. The serial number plate was gone. A narrow strip of green tape remained beneath it, curled at one corner. In black ink, in my handwriting, was the delivery date. I forwarded the photo to Owen. He called within a minute. I can inspect Monday morning. They're hosting Palette Local Saturday night. Then Monday may be too late. I looked at the brass key on my desk. It opened a lock that no longer existed. How soon can you be there? Tomorrow at 4. They close between lunch and dinner. Will they let us in? No. Then what do you want to do? I picked up Celeste's proposed agreement. At the bottom, beneath the offer of permanent acknowledgement, was her signature. I want to give them one last chance to assume the lease. And if they can't? Through the office wall, I could hear the cleaning crew rolling a vacuum down the hall. Then we find out whether Daniel understands what my signature means. Owen arrived at 3:52 in a Mercer Food Systems van with a service technician named Caleb and a hard plastic case full of gauges. I was waiting beneath the green awning. Celeste opened the door 4 inches and kept her body in the gap. We're closed. This is the inspection I requested, I said. You requested it this morning. The lease allows inspection on reasonable notice if the equipment may have been altered. She looked at Owen. It hasn't been altered. Great, he said, and we'll be quick. Daniel appeared behind her. His gray sweater was gone. His shirt was wrinkled and there was a streak of flour on his sleeve. You brought a van? He asked. I bring my tools in it, Owen said. It looks like you're here to take things. Then let's hope I don't find a reason. Celeste's eyes settled on me. You enjoy this. I was standing on the other side of this door while you changed the locks. Because you walked out. The inspection happens today. Daniel whispered something to her. she answered without lowering her voice. She has no right to barge into my cafe. She's liable for everything he finds. You said you would handle her. Owen glanced at me, then became very interested in the rosemary planters. Daniel opened the door. Inside, the cafe was being prepared for the Palette local dinner. The tables had green linen napkins, slim candles, and printed menus headed "An Evening at Vale." My rosemary chicken sandwich had become rosemary glazed chicken with preserved lemon. Celeste had added Frank's name beneath the description. Luis stood at the sink. His jaw tightened when he saw Owen. "Can I talk to you?" I asked. "I'm working." "Did you get your missing wages?" "Most." Daniel said, "Luis, you don't need to discuss payroll with her." Luis shut off the faucet. "Then who am I supposed to discuss it with? We'll finish correcting everything Monday. That's what you said Wednesday." Celeste stepped between them. "This is exactly the disruption I was trying to prevent." Owen cleared his throat. "Grinders?" Daniel gestured toward the service counter. The plate in Luis's photograph was still missing. On the second grinder, Caleb found 2 fresh scratches around the screws. He crouched, ran a finger over them, and took several pictures. "Where's the plate?" Owen asked. Celeste folded her arms. "It fell off. Commercial cereal plates don't fall off. Then perhaps someone knocked it." "With a screwdriver?" Daniel said, "We were cleaning." Caleb looked up. "You clean behind metal plates?" "It was loose." Owen wrote something on his inspection sheet. "Where is it now?" No one answered. Luis dried his hands. "Office drawer." Celeste turned. "You don't know that. I watched you put it there. I found it on the floor. You told me the buyer didn't need to see a lease company's label. The silence that followed had edges." Daniel moved first. "Luis, take 10 minutes. I'm already missing 6 hours on my check. Should I add 10 minutes? I said I'm fixing it." Luis untied his apron and laid it on the counter. "Fix it without me." He walked out through the front door. The bell sounded once behind him. Celeste watched him cross the window. Ungrateful. "He worked 60 hours last week," I said. "He was paid for his work." Daniel's face warned me away from the subject. It was the same look he had given me before Celeste ordered me from the ribbon. Not now, not here, not at the moment when truth might cost us something. Caleb retrieved the cereal plate from the office. A small green curl of tape clung to its back. "We can remount it," he said, "but I have to document the removal." "What does that mean?" Celeste asked. Owen looked at me before answering. "It means the account is in default under the alteration and transfer provisions, but nothing was sold. You prepared leased equipment for sale and removed its identification. I made an inquiry. Your son made 3 inquiries. You arranged the buyer." Daniel stepped closer to Owen. "What happens now?" "Mercer can demand immediate return. Mara can also cure the default by confirming the equipment remains at this location and accepting continued liability." All 3 of them looked at me. There it was. The familiar moment when everyone else's choices arrived at my chair disguised as my decision. I took Celeste's proposal from my bag and placed it on the nearest table. "I'm offering one alternative. You assume the lease through a guarantor Mercer approves, and you repay the missed reimbursements plus the $8,000 from the wedding account." Celeste stared at the paper. "By when?" "Tomorrow at noon." "That's impossible. Then the equipment leaves. The dinner is tomorrow night." "I know." Daniel pulled me toward the window, away from Celeste and Owen. "You know we can't arrange financing in 20 hours. You had 6 months to arrange it. We can use the Palette review. If the dinner goes well, we'll have proof of demand. A review isn't a guarantor. Grant may do it." "Has he seen the books?" Daniel looked toward the office. "You asked him already," I said. "He wants to wait until we have 3 profitable months. Then he isn't doing it. Give us until Monday. You used my name to change payroll records. I didn't change records under your name. The system wouldn't let us preserve the vendor permissions unless we recreated the administrator. You could have used your name. Yours was already attached. He said it as if that settled the matter. My name was already attached. My money was already attached. My reputation, my work, my patience, everything could be used again because it had been used before. "I'll give you until noon," I said. His face went still. "And if I can't fix it?" "I authorize Owen to recover the equipment. Then we're done." The words were quiet enough that Celeste couldn't hear them. I looked at the engagement band on his hand. "Are you asking me to choose?" "I'm telling you what your choice means." "No, Daniel. You keep telling me what your choices require from me." I left him beside the window. Outside, Luis was sitting on the curb, smoking a cigarette he held like he didn't enjoy it. "You quit?" I asked. "I guess. You should send Daniel a written wage demand. List every missing hour." "You gonna fix it?" "No." He gave a bitter laugh. "At least you're consistent now." "I can help you compare the records, but you send it. Your name." He looked through the window at Celeste. "I thought you owned half of this place." "So did I, sometimes." "She told us you were the money person, like you didn't understand food." "Celeste understands food. She doesn't understand people. She understands enough to keep finding the ones who will carry things for her." Luis crushed the cigarette beneath his shoe. "Daniel told me you approved the payroll cleanup." "I didn't." "Yeah, I know that now." At home, I removed the wedding invitation from the refrigerator. The magnet left a greasy crescent on the paper. I called the venue first. Canceling meant losing the deposit. The coordinator asked whether I wanted to move the date instead. No. "Would you like me to leave the file open for 48 hours? I looked at Daniel's empty coffee cup. It had been beside the sink all week because I had refused to wash it and couldn't bring myself to put it away. "No," I said. "Close it." The florist was kinder. The photographer charged a cancellation percentage. Every call turned the future into a smaller number. Daniel came home after midnight. He saw the invitation face down on the counter and stopped. "You canceled." "Yes." "You didn't wait until noon." "The cafe has until noon. We didn't." He sat at the kitchen table. "Grant won't guarantee the lease." "I know." "Elaine offered to contribute $10,000 if you stay on it for another year." "That isn't assuming it." "I know." We were both quiet. Finally, he said, "I thought you would calm down." "About which part?" "All of it. The opening. The money. Mom, you've always been the person who can see past the moment." "Meaning?" "You know when something is bigger than your feelings." I leaned against the counter. "And your mother?" "She lost Dad. She lost the old cafe. This was supposed to give something back. To her." "Yes, to her." His voice rose. "Why is that terrible? Why can't one thing be for her?" "It could have been. She just needed my credit, my savings, my labor, and my silence. She needed to believe she could still do it. And you needed to be the one who gave it to her." He looked at me then. The answer was in his face before he spoke. "When Dad got sick, she depended on me for everything. After he died, I was the reason she got out of bed. Then you came in and knew how to fix every problem before I understood it. She started calling you instead. So you let her erase me. I thought if she felt like it was hers, eventually she'd stop fighting you. You joined her. At the opening, yes." He swallowed. "I knew she wanted the picture without you. I knew about the joke." The apartment seemed to shrink around his voice. "Why?" "Because she could tolerate needing me. She couldn't tolerate needing you. And you could tolerate humiliating me. I thought you'd understand later. Because we were getting married." He rubbed his thumb over his engagement band. "Because you're strong. Because you don't need the credit the way she does." I walked to the mail table and picked up the brass cafe key. "You gave me this and told me we were building a family." "We were. You thought marriage meant you could hurt me on schedule and I'd still be home afterward." His face folded just for a second. I didn't think you'd leave." "That's the same thing." He slept on the couch. In the morning, he took a suitcase to Celeste's. At noon, Owen called. "No application," he said, "no funds. Start the return. Early termination is going to cost you storage, removal, and the difference until we place the equipment elsewhere." "I understand. Do you? Send me the estimate." The estimate made me sit down. I signed it anyway. At 4:30, the removal crew parked beneath the green awning. Through the front window, candles burned on every table. Celeste stood behind the counter in her cream suit, arranging pastries. Daniel was adjusting the menu cards. The pallet local guests were due at 6. Owen unlocked the van. "Last chance to change your mind." I thought about my savings account. The lost wedding deposits, the apartment Grant had frozen, the professional credit attached to every piece of chrome inside. Then I thought about Daniel saying he hadn't believed I would leave. "Let's go in." Celeste met us at the door. "You cannot do this during my dinner. I offered you the lease. You offered me humiliation. I offered you responsibility." Daniel came from behind her. "Mara, give us tonight." "For what?" "If the review is good, Elaine will put in more. We can repay some of the wedding money next week." "And the lease?" "We'll work toward it." I nodded to Owen. The crew rolled in padded dollies. Celeste planted herself in front of the espresso machines. "These are the heart of my cafe. Then you should have protected them. I protected this place from you." Owen said gently, "Mrs. Vale, you need to step aside." She looked at Daniel. "Tell them." Daniel walked toward me instead. The empty tables glowed behind him, each place setting precise and hopeful. "If you take the machines," he said, "pallet cancels. We lose Elaine. Mom can't make payroll." "I know. You're destroying it. I'm refusing to keep it alive." His eyes filled. "I'm sorry about the toast. This isn't about the toast. I'm sorry I let her put you outside the picture. You didn't let her. You stood where she put you." He looked down at his bare ring finger. Sometime that afternoon, he had removed the band again. "I loved what you did for us," he said. "I just didn't know how to make her love it too." You could have started by saying it was mine. The crew disconnected the first grinder. Caleb lifted it onto a dolly, the restored cereal plate visible above the green strip of tape. Celeste stepped away. The big espresso machine came next. Without it, the counter looked strangely shallow. Pale rectangles marked the tile where its feet had stood. Daniel stacked the printed menus while Celeste called the blogger and said there had been an equipment emergency. By 5:45, the cafe was quiet. I signed Owen's pickup sheet in the same place I had signed the delivery form 6 months earlier. Daniel watched my pen move. "What happens now?" he asked. "You find out what the cafe costs." It stayed open for 5 more weeks. Celeste borrowed a small espresso machine from a bakery and reduced the menu to drip coffee, tea, and pastries. Elaine's money covered payroll once. Grant declined to extend the rent. Celeste closed before the next payment came due and began selling lemon bars and rosemary shortbread through 2 local markets. Mercer placed most of the equipment with another restaurant after 3 months. I paid the removal fee, the storage, and part of the shortfall. It hurt. It also ended. Daniel sold his car and returned $4,000 to the wedding account. He sent another $2,000 in smaller transfers over the following months. Each one arrived without a message. The last time we met, he brought a box of my things from Celeste's office. Vendor folders, my green binder, a cardigan I had forgotten during training. The brass key lay on top. "You left this at home," he said. "It doesn't open anything." "Neither does mine." Grant changed the locks. I picked it up anyway. Later, I passed the storefront on my way to a Fenwick opening. The windows were bare, and the green awning had faded along its lower edge. Through the glass, I could see the empty shelves. Thin pieces of green tape still marked where sugar, cups, and tea had once belonged. At home, I dropped the brass key into a chipped ceramic cup where I kept spare change. It struck the bottom with a clean, small sound. It belonged to nothing now. That was why I kept it.